You know that feeling when you want to really get something, to understand it deeply without wading through endless information?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what we do here at the Deep Dive. You send us your sources, and we extract the crucial insights. Today we're diving into a fascinating piece you shared, a Murli titled Sweet Children, This New Tree is Very Sweet, dated April 3, 2025.
hmm
Right away, this imagery grabbed us a new, sweet tree, but one that can be affected by pests, and the specific remedy offered. Manamabav, remembering God.
It's quite potent imagery.
This whole discourse centers on spiritual ideas around heaven, hell, and the path to liberation. And it begins with a really thought-provoking question for you. What's the hallmark of a student who truly excels in this spiritual study? Apparently, it's more than just shining in one area. Let's explore what that means and dig much deeper into this.
It's intriguing from the outset, isn't it? This notion of a spiritual curriculum with its own standards of excellence. It suggests, like you said, a multifaceted engagement beyond just belief. And that sweet new tree metaphor is quite evocative, hinting at an inherent purity that nonetheless needs, well, care and protection.
Okay, let's get into this gate to heaven idea that appears early in the Murli. It mentions both a gate to heaven and a gate to hell. Now, this isn't a literal gateway somewhere, is it?
No, not in a physical sense.
Hmm.
The Murli presents this gate conceptually within the cycle of creation, often depicted as a world cycle diagram.
Ah, okay.
The specific juncture where souls transition to the land of peace, Shantidem, and subsequently enter the new heavenly world is identified as the confluence age, the Sangam.
The Sangam.
Think of it as a pivotal transitional period, yeah.
So it's not as simple either. Some souls head to this land of peace and others directly to heaven. That's an interesting distinction.
Well, the Murli does suggest a kind of sorting, you know?
Yeah,
Those who achieved heaven in the previous cycle will apparently do so again.
Okay.
Others who may not have reached that same level of spiritual attainment, they'll experience the land of peace first before potentially entering a future cycle. What's really emphasized, though, is that the gate to hell is described as closing, while this gate of peace and happiness is opening. It really frames our current time as a pretty significant moment of transformation.
And this globe diagram, along with the Trimurti, the Trinity, these are presented as really effective visual aids for understanding these concepts, especially for newcomers.
Absolutely, yeah. The Murli specifically recommends using this diagram to explain the gate to heaven and the progression from what's described as hell to heaven to anyone new to these ideas.
Right.
The Trimurti, often depicted visually, represents the three primary functions of the divine in this cycle. Creation, sustenance, and transformation. The diagram is presented as a very direct and accessible way to grasp these concepts.
Right, making these abstract ideas more tangible. Now let's revisit that question about the student who passes with honors. We know it's not just about one thing. What are these different subjects the Murli says we need to pay attention to?
There. It says that a student who earns honors dedicates their attention to all subjects, not just excelling in, say, one area like physical service. While contributing through physical service and, bringing joy to others definitely earns merit, a truly successful spiritual student cultivates a comprehensive understanding.
Okay.
This includes spiritual knowledge itself, living with righteous conduct in everyday life, and consistently developing divine qualities. It's this combination of knowing, doing, and embodying that leads to passing with honors.
So it's like a three-pronged approach.
Yep.
Understanding, action, and character.
Hmm.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, the Murli paints a pretty stark picture of the current state of the world, doesn't it? It actually calls it hell.
It does use quite direct language, yeah. The present time is characterized as hell, and this is contrasted sharply with the imminent opening of the gate to heaven. This shift also involves a significant change in the religious landscape. The description is of many existing religions eventually being transformed, leading back to one original, eternal religion.
And where do we, the listeners exploring this, fit into this whole picture?
Well, according to the Murli, those who are following this spiritual path are destined for the land of happiness, which is heaven, whereas others will go to the land of peace. It's important to remember, like we discussed earlier, that not everyone immediately enters the gate of heaven. That was specifically the realm of deities in the Golden Age, also known as Satyuga.
So there's a kind of standard to meet then? It's not an automatic entry?
Precisely. To become worthy of passing through the gate to heaven requires focused spiritual study and consistent progress. The Murli uses a very relatable analogy here. The more you write and read, the more you become a Nawab ruler. If you just roam and eat, you will become nigh bad.
That's clear.
Yeah, it really underscores the importance of actively engaging with the knowledge.
That's a very clear connection between effort and outcome. The Murli also touches on the level of truth in the Golden Age compared to now.
Yes, it draws a strong contrast. In the Golden Age, truth was apparently prevalent in every aspect of life, in clothing, diet, and speech. The current time, however, is marked by falsehood and untruth. This really emphasizes the need for spiritual purification to return to that original state of truthfulness.
And the very phrase, gateway to heaven, is given significance, even with so many languages spoken today.
Yeah, what's interesting is the Murli's recognition of the English phrase gateway to heaven as a clear and widely understood concept despite the multitude of languages globally.
Wow.
It also reminds us that the original name of India is Harat, linking this spiritual understanding to a specific historical and geographical context.
Let's delve into the role of God, or the Father, as the Murli refers to him. He's presented as the ultimate guide, correct?
Absolutely. The Murli emphasizes that God, the Father, is the one who provides the elevated directions known as Srimat,
Srimat, okay.
which are essential for achieving salvation, or Sadgati. There's even a saying mentioned, his ways and directions are unique.
Right.
And the core of this guidance is remarkably simple. Remember, the Father Manmanapav.
Manmanapav. So just to clarify for us, Srimat essentially refers to the highest guidance coming directly from the Father.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. That helps solidify it. But it seems there's a general lack of understanding about who this Godfather truly is.
Yeah.
That's a crucial point the Murli raises. It highlights the widespread use of the term Godfather without a genuine comprehension of the divine identity.
Interesting.
It then explains a fundamental teaching. The soul is a distinct, imperishable point of light, separate from the physical body made up of the 5 elements, and beyond individual souls is the Paramatma, the supreme soul.
Paramount.
Think of Paramatma not just as the supreme soul in isolation, but as the source from which all individual souls emanate, sort of like sparks from a fire.
And the Murli suggests that most people are unaware of their own soul and the supreme soul.
Yes, that's the assertion. It points to a fundamental disconnect from our true spiritual essence and our relationship with the divine source. However, it also offers a path to understanding. Recognizing the nature of our own soul makes it easier to grasp the nature of the supreme soul.
It's like understanding the individual helps illuminate the universal. And this understanding connects to the cycle of souls becoming pure and then impure.
Precisely. The Murli explains the cyclical journey of souls as they descend from a state of maximum purity and light, which is called Satopradhan, to a state of maximum impurity and darkness, known as Tamopradhan, and then cycle back again.
Tamopradhan. Got it.
Satopradhan refers to that state of maximum purity and light, while Tamopradhanan signifies the maximum impurity and darkness, representing the cyclical descent of the soul. The Father's role in this cycle is to be the purifier, enabling souls to become Satopradhan once more.
Go.
This cycle involves each soul going through 84 births, eventually reaching the Tamopradhan stage.
And the Father doesn't communicate directly with everyone, does he? There's a medium involved.
Yes, the Murli clarifies that the Father speaks through a medium, and you, as listeners to this discourse, are receiving those teachings. This medium is sometimes referred to as the chariot.
The chariot, right.
And this brings us back to the significance of the name Gateway to Heaven as a central concept within these teachings.
The Murli also touches upon the history of religions, suggesting a decline from an original state of purity.
Yeah, what's particularly interesting is the perspective offered on the deity religion of the Golden Age, which is now largely lost. And even other religions like Christianity, which are described as having been initially Satopradhan, but gradually becoming Tamopradhan through the process of rebirth.
Wow.
This is illustrated through the metaphor of a variety of religions forming a tree that ages and becomes old. The current time is identified as the point when souls reach their Tamopradhan state, and the Father provides the method to reverse this, remembering him, the purifier.
And this ties back to the idea of India, or Farad, as being a heaven in the past.
Exactly. The Murli states that Farat was indeed heaven before the time of Christ, but the knowledge of how it achieved that state and where that heaven went is now largely lost to most people. It emphasizes that each soul has the capacity to become good or bad through their actions and remembrance. But ultimately, all souls are children remembering the Father who is described as the beloved.
This sweet beloved has arrived, according to the Murli, and that's why there's this underlying remembrance of God in everyone, even if they don't fully understand it.
That's the idea. The inherent connection of all souls to the Father leads to a universal, if often unconscious, remembrance.
Makes sense.
Furthermore, the Murli suggests that even those who currently worship deities were once worthy of worship themselves, possibly having taken birth in Brahmin families in previous cycles, indicating a cyclical nature of spiritual status.
So the Father is the key to unlocking this potential, the one who opens this gate to heaven. How does this opening actually occur?
Well, the Murli is clear that the Father opens the gate to heaven through his teachings. God speaks through a chosen body, the medium we discussed.
Right, the chariot.
Exactly. This brings us back to the analogy of the seed and the tree. The current time is likened to a new tree that is in the process of growing.
And even though it's a sweet tree, it's vulnerable to pests. What do these pests symbolize?
The pests are symbolic of obstacles, negativity, and anything that hinders one's spiritual progress.
Okay.
And the medicine to eradicate these pests, as we mentioned right at the start, is Manmanapav, the constant remembrance of the Father.
Manmanapav.
The power of Manmanapav isn't just like rote repetition. It's about cultivating a deep internal connection that shifts our consciousness and reduces our identification with the material world, which is the very root of those pests, you know?
So neglecting to remember the Father is like leaving this sweet tree unprotected.
Precisely. The Murli warns that a lack of remembrance allows these pests to consume one's spiritual earnings, leading to a lower spiritual status. This really highlights the critical importance of consistent connection with the divine.
And the Murli encourages a specific way of interacting with others as well, doesn't it?
Absolutely. You are encouraged to become very sweet and loving towards everyone, likened to milk and sugar, kirkan,
Kirkan.
in contrast to being bitter or negative, like salt water. The example of lions and goats living harmoniously in the Golden Age is used to illustrate this desired state of peaceful coexistence and loving interaction.
It's an ideal to strive for, even if not everyone reaches the highest spiritual status.
That's acknowledged in the Murli, yes. It recognizes that some may not have the inherent destiny to reach the very highest spiritual level, despite the teachings being available to all. However, it emphasizes that the teacher, the Father, is guiding everyone to elevate their destiny as much as possible.
And how does physical service fit into this broader picture of spiritual growth and achieving honors?
Okay, so physical service, such as managing the store, mentioned in the Murli, is recognized as a way of earning marks or spiritual merit.
Right.
However, as we discussed with the criteria for an honored student, it's not the only factor. A holistic approach that integrates knowledge, righteous conduct, and the cultivation of divine qualities is essential for true spiritual excellence.
So even those deeply involved in service should prioritize this remembrance.
Yes, the Murli explicitly advises those in service to also remind others to practice Manmanapav, to remember the Father as a means of purifying their karmas and ultimately becoming rulers of heaven.
Oh.
It stresses that both spiritual knowledge and yoga, or remembrance, are essential and in their essence quite accessible, easy even.
And the importance of sharing this knowledge with others is also emphasized.
Indeed. You are encouraged to become a stick for the blind, guiding others towards the gate to heaven through exhibitions and clear explanations of the current state of hell and the future heaven. The Father's core message is reiterated. Remember me, and become pure in order to become rulers of the pure world, Manmanapav.
Sounds like these teachings have deep connections to ancient scriptures like the Gita.
That connection is explicitly made, yes. The Murli states that the Father is essentially teaching the essence of the Gita,
Interesting.
leading to the fundamental question: who is the God of the Gita, and who is the one who opens the gate to heaven? The answer provided is Shiv Baba, or God, while Krishna is understood to pass through that gate.
Okay. Shibaba opens it, Krishna passes through.
That's the understanding presented.
And this section concludes with a strong emphasis on cultivating positive qualities.
Yes, it ends by reiterating the importance of cultivating sweetness, love, and giving happiness to all through one's thoughts, words, and deeds. Even the example of the store manager receiving gifts for making everyone happy is presented as another aspect of these spiritual subjects.
So to distill some of the key principles for transformation mentioned in the Murli, what are the main takeaways for us? For Dharna, as it says.
Right, for imbibing, or dharna, The Murli emphasizes two main essences. Firstly, to cultivate sweetness and loving connection with one another, like milk and sugar.
Kirkand again.
Kirkand, exactly. To elevate your destiny and avoid bitterness. This also includes paying full attention to all aspects of the spiritual subjects, knowledge, conduct, and divine qualities.
Got it. And the second.
Secondly, it's crucial to follow the elevated directions, the Srimat, received from the Father for salvation, and to share these elevated directions with everyone, guiding them on the path to heaven.
And there's a blessing and a slogan shared in the Murli as well.
Yes, the blessing is, may you be a merciful world benefactor who gives courage and enthusiasm to every soul.
Nice.
It includes a crucial reminder never to label a fellow spiritual student as weak, but instead to speak auspicious and uplifting words. Even when offering guidance, the priority should be to first empower them with courage and enthusiasm, as planting the seed of knowledge in fertile ground yields the best results for world service.
That's a powerful point about empowerment first.
And the slogan is, while taking the Father's blessings, constantly experience fullness.
And there's some unexpressed hints, too.
Indeed. These offer further guidance. Constantly become victorious through the remembrance of the combined form.
The combined form.
And constantly experience yourself as a karma yogi soul while performing every action. While performing any action, remembrance cannot be forgotten. May both action and yoga become combined. Become a karma yogi, like something that is connected and cannot be separated.
Karma yogi. Action and yoga combined.
Yes, these emphasize the integration of remembrance into daily life and the power of perhaps collective spiritual effort in that combined form idea.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, the core insight seems to be that this gate to heaven isn't a physical destination, but rather a spiritual state we achieve through dedicated remembrance, transforming our inner qualities, and engaging in selfless service.
Precisely. It encourages you to really consider the sweetness of this new spiritual understanding and the profound impact of the medicine of Mamanabhav in your own life as a way to overcome challenges and progress spiritually.
It leaves us with that final thought-provoking message from the Murli. The significance of this combined form and striving to be a true karma yogi, where our actions and our remembrance of the divine become inseparable. It really prompts you to think about how integrated your spiritual practice is in your everyday life. This deep dive, as always, feels like just the beginning. There are definitely more layers to explore within this rich source material.
Always more to uncover.
Thank you for joining us on this exploration, and we encourage you to continue your own deep dive into what resonates with you on your path of learning and growth. What stands out to you as you reflect on this? Perhaps the idea of constant remembrance as a form of inner protection.
Or maybe the emphasis on not just knowing, but also being and acting with those divine qualities.
Exactly. These are the kinds of questions this material invites us to ponder further.